Hello and welcome, you beautiful bookish people. If you are new here, my name is Brooke and I read fantasy books. And I'm kind of nervous for this video because I'm in that kind of mood where I'm like, if you ask me what I read or like what it's about, I'm not entirely sure I'm gonna be able to accurately tell you. I'm actually so proud of myself. I'm going through my Goodreads right now just to make sure I have all my numbers right, but unfortunately I DNF'd 2 books this month, which that really sucks. And I can confidently say that it wasn't just like I wasn't in the mood to read it, because I read 50 pages of one and then the other one I think I read like 250 pages. Like, I was trying so hard to want to like this book, but then I read 8 total books. One of those books was almost 800 pages. So like, I'm so proud of myself. I did good. The first book that I read this month is Amid Clouds and Bones by Ella Fields. I read this on Kindle and I gave this book 3 stars. I wanted to love it more than I did. I just ended up being like super confused at the ending, but this is a standalone romantasy, which is super rare because I feel like a lot of fantasy books, you have to have multiple books in the series to like get to the actual story part because there's so much world building. It is about a half fairy girl who is arranged to be married to a fae, and this marriage is basically like a treaty of sorts. It's like bringing these 2 kingdoms together, creating peace. But in the process of trying to survive this arranged marriage, because he comes across as like super grouchy, not a great person, she is delivered to her enemy's doorstep. And while she is with said enemy, she gets a behind the scenes of what's actually going on between the 2 realms. It's nice. It's good. The only thing was this ending kind of gave me a little bit of whiplash, and I'm not sure exactly what happened. And I mean, with it being a standalone, I didn't expect to give it 5 stars because I am that person that like, throw me in the trenches and give me every single little detail about this world because I want to know. I want to know the language, I want to know the magic, I want to know this land and that land, why you are here, and whatever is going on. I want all the little details. And so we didn't really get the opportunity to dive in like super deep, which I guess you didn't really need to. But I wasn't like super connected to the characters, but the plot twist was actually pretty good. It just felt like a little rushed, which is fine. And I ended up giving it 3 stars, which I feel like for what I'm saying sounds pretty high, but I had a good time. And honestly, that's all that I was looking for. I just needed kind of like a little bit of a palate cleanser, read within the fantasy genre. And that's what I got. So 3 stars, solid. We're gonna keep going. The second book that I read this month, I was super excited for because this author, I'm gonna read everything she puts out. And I am talking about The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. And I ended up giving this 4 stars, which I actually have a reading vlog if you want to go watch me read this book and the second one. I thought it was so good. I love Carissa's writing. I was super immersed in the world. I loved the vampire aspect because I haven't read a lot of books with vampires in them that have been vampire focused. And I like the trials. I think for me, I'm a little bit burnt out of trials because it doesn't leave a lot of room for plot, I guess, for the next book, because the next book is gonna have to be completely different than the first because it's not like you could do trials again. But it did keep it fast paced and it did allow for some like distraction of what was actually going on in the world. But let's go into the next book that I read. I know that was a really short explanation and I will tell you what it's about in just a second. But the second book is The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, also by Carissa Broadbent. I'm not gonna lie to you, I liked this one more than the first, which is kind of funny because I know that a lot of people did not like this book. But this book gave me everything I was missing from this one because, like I said, like I was a little bit like, okay, where is this gonna go? Because I felt like it was missing a lot of the behind the scenes scheming, politics, war, all of like the in-world stuff that I felt like could be important, but I got it in this book and I enjoyed it. So I gave it 4 stars as well. It wasn't like an overwhelming obsession, but I really liked it. And this duet is about a girl named Oriya, who is a human that is forced to compete in the Kajari, which is a tournament put on by the goddess Nyaxia. And she has to compete against other vampires. And at the end of these trials, whoever wins gets one wish request granted by the goddess Nyaxia. And while she's in these said trials, she meets an unlikely ally ally who turns out to be fantastic. And so the first book is basically them allying, trying to make it through the trials, and then towards the end there's some crazy stuff that happens, and when I say crazy, I mean crazy, and I was immediately needing the second book. This book as well, I felt like the ending was a little rushed, which I guess that's a theme going on in this month. The ending was a little bit iffy, and I'm hoping that since this is technically a duet, but it is part of a bigger series called The Crowns of Nyaxia, which there is another book that I'm going to get to in just a minute. So I'm assuming that this is all gonna like really come together based on Daughter of No Worlds, also by Carissa Bradman, which is like top tier for me. I will forever recommend that trilogy based on how she wrote that, and seeing the similar writing style come through in this second book. I'm expecting, hopefully not gonna be let down, but I'm expecting certain things and I'm very excited about it. So yes, I will be continuing the series, even though I didn't give it like rave reviews. I thought it was phenomenal. This next book I was not expecting to love as much as I did, and we're talking about The Night Ends with Fire by KX Song. I gave this book 4.5 stars. I thought it was phenomenal. And here's the thing, this is a Mulan retelling, and that makes it like a little bit iffy getting into the story, because if it's a retelling then you can kind of expect very certain things. But the best way that I can describe this is if Mulan, Manacled, and Akatar had like a little magical baby. And I know that's like super high standards, so like I guess you can quote me on that, but like I thought it was so good. It was one of those that like the premise of the story was very Mulan-esque, but also like it grew from there in a way that made sense for the characters and didn't feel forced, like they were trying to come up with like a completely new story. Like it stayed true to the good aspects of Mulan, but then threw in more Chinese mythology and gave it a very devastating ending that left me like,
oh my god, I need the second book.
and I think it comes out later this year. I think towards the end. Actually, I don't know when it's coming out. Never mind. You have a messy FMC with room for growth, but not in a way that makes me want to stop reading the story. It actually makes me want to see where she goes. You have a romance subplot, and when I say subplot, this is like truly subplot. Like the fantasy is first, which I love. And it's very much like a how hard can it be, men do it mentality, which is so good. That's really all I have to say about that one. I thought it was so good, and I think you need to read it. It is a very easy read. It's about like 450 pages. It's not hard to read at all. Now, here is where the month gets a little bit iffy. I read Scalebound by Logan Piercy, and this was my first DNF of the month. And I'm shocked to say that because I've only DNF'd 2 books before this, and they were like a long time ago and like far apart. And I got this book on her like pre-order. It is signed, it has all of like the pre-sale goodies or whatever, and it's really pretty. I could not get into it. I read 50 pages. I was not working with the storyline. I was not working with the writing. It was a lot of rhetorical questions and like the main character's rhetorical questions. And I felt like the introduction of the male main character, because it is dual POV, his story, it's not like explained too much, but like sad boy hour in like a bad way. I was just very excited about the dragon, dual POV, and like just the general vibe of the book, but I couldn't get past the writing. Like at some point I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I don't know. It didn't work for me, unfortunately. The next book that I read was also a DNF. I feel so bad. Like I said, like I've only DNF'd 2 before this, and I'm not joking. It was back to back. Like I DNF'd Scalebound one day, and I like took a little break, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start this next book. And I did. And I was really excited about it again, because it was an arc that I was sent, and she sent me the first book and the second book on Kindle. It is called The Imminent Trials of Quietus by Catalina Mattei. And again, with the dragon's intriguing magic system, I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't remember a thing. It took me 250 pages, felt like nothing was happening. This one, the writing was like a little better than Scalebound, so like I could deal with it since I just read Scalebound and I was like, I can't do this. And the writing on that one was like a little bit better, but then eventually it got so bad. And I'm not even gonna try to explain what it was about because I don't remember. I'm not trying to bash the author. The author was so sweet, offered to send me all this stuff, and I made it very clear to her. I was like, hey, I am gonna post that I DNF'd it. I'm going to be very clear about like all of my DNFs, guys. Like, if you want to go read it, go read it. Like, support these authors. This is fantastic. I'm just here to give my honest opinions, and this is my honest opinion, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything. And I'm not trying to attack these authors. Y'all wrote a book. That's more than I can say. So who am I to sit here and complain about anything? But that was a little rough patch in the month. So let's get on to more good things. Now, this next book is Six Scorched Roses by Carissa Broadbent that I did read on Kindle. And I don't know why I didn't read this sooner. This is technically in between The Serpent and the Wings of Night and The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. So I should have read it in the middle. I just wasn't in the mood to like actually research what order to read it in. And I was so stupid because literally Carissa Broadbent has a post on her Instagram that says what order to read it in. I just didn't see it. And so hearing that there was a novella, I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna like, after I finish this duet, then I'll read the novella, because I didn't want to mess with any order if like I had to read other things too, which I would have been totally fine. This book was a 5-star, and I can't believe that I'm saying that because it's a novella, but it was in the same world as Serpent and the Wings of Night with 2 characters that you do meet, I think technically in the first book, but their story isn't like really revealed about what happened until the second book, and this is the in-between which tells you what happened. And it wasn't even 200 pages long. I loved it. Beautifully fast-paced, super detailed. I loved these characters. I loved the FMC so much. And I really hope that's like sometime in the future there's more of their story, because I ate this up. Basically, this story is about a girl who is trying to come up with a cure for a sickness that is spreading out throughout the land, and she has to enlist the help of a very mysterious, very not liked vampire that lives in that town. And it's basically their love story. And like, I literally don't even know what else to say. Like, it was just so good. Moving on. The next book that I read is Metal Slinger by Rachel Schneider, and this one, I'm not gonna lie to you, I picked it up because of Book Talk, because I was hearing so many people were absolutely obsessed with it. I heard the ending was crazy, and I think it got to me and gave me a little bit too high of an expectation than I should have had. And so I ended up giving this 3.75 stars, and don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it. I think it was a fun time. I think it's very unique. The way that I can describe it is if Alina Starkov from Shadow and Bone was a pirate. I really enjoyed these characters. I thought the story was super fun. It was one of those where she's living this life and then she finds out that basically her whole life's a lie, and she runs into somebody else that claims some really outlandish things about her land, about everything that's going on in her life, and she has to figure out the truth basically. And the ending, not gonna lie to you, was not that satisfying, at least personally. I knew that there was gonna be a big plot twist, and I feel like we've seen that kind of plot twist, I guess, before. Like, it was one of those that kind of just like made sense, and once it was revealed, it was like, oh, okay, like I see where you're coming from. But also, it was a little bit too open-ended for me. Like, if you're gonna do a big reveal like that, there's some key information that I feel like we should get, and we didn't get it. It was kind of just like, this was happening, okay, bye. I don't know. I mean, I'll read the second book, and I'm excited to see what happens, but also, like, I don't know, I guess it just wasn't my favorite, and that's totally fine. Okay, we're getting to our last 2 books. The second to last book that I read was Slaying the Vampire Conqueror by Carissa Broadbent. Apparently this month was just a Carissa Broadbent month, I guess. I gave this book 5 stars. Oh my god, I gave it 5 stars. This is a standalone romantasy in like, not interconnected like standalones series sort of thing, but like a bunch of different authors did like slaying the ... kind of books, and like, so it's technically a series, but they're all in different worlds and different characters, and like none of them actually connect. I don't think I say that, and I have not read the other ones. However, Slaying the Vampire Conqueror was set, again, in the Serpent and the Wings of Night world with brand new characters, brand new, like, pretty much everything. I'm not even sure, like, timeline-wise when it happens. I would say you don't necessarily have to read Serpent and the Wings of Night to understand Slaying the Vampire Conqueror, which is nice. So if you want to, like, dip your toes into the world, I think this is a great option. I got everything that I wanted. I got the world building, politics, war, scheming, good characters, vampires, magic, like literally everything that I could want from a book. It was in here, and it wasn't super long. It was done beautifully, which I know there wasn't a ton of world building because obviously like it's set in a world that's already been built in the Serpent and the Wings of Night, but there is enough information that she gives you in this next book that if you hadn't have read the other books, you would still be fine. And honestly, the world's not that complicated. Like, all you just have to remember is like the different kinds of vampires and the fact that there's gods. Like, that's pretty much it. So I would say this one was a very like character and like romance driven story. It was so good. This book is about a girl named Selena who is an assassin, and she was ordered to kill said vampire. So she has to kind of like wiggle her way into his court, his inner circle, and figure out a way to complete the mission, but also kind of be like, oh crap, he's kind of cute. And again, it's another one where she's trying to do this job and then she realizes, okay, wait, I'm on the wrong path here. I need to do something about what's going on. And the things that I previously stood on, I need to adjust that a little bit. And I think that is so good. She totally reminds me of Manon. And I love that. Manon from Throne of Glass, by the way. I did not want it to end. I honestly need more novellas with her in it and Atreus because it was just like mind-blowing. Again, one of those that like I did not expect to like, and it was something that I like just found out about, that like she had another book in her, I guess, universe, and so I was like, oh, okay, it's Carissa Broadbent, I'm reading it, and it ended up being a fantastic experience. She has not let me down yet. Now, this last book, we ended the month on such a high, and it's setting up the next month for being so good, because I read City of Gods and Monsters by Kayla Edwards, and let me tell you, I did not realize I was such a fan of urban fantasy until I read this. Like, the only other urban fantasy that I've read is Crescent City, and granted, I gave all of those 5 stars. Say what you will about House of Flame and Shadow, I loved it, I think it was phenomenal, we're gonna move on. But I read nothing else that was like a modern urban fantasy, right? And I picked this up because I was seeing like a little bit about it on social media, and again, like everything that I've heard about it is phenomenal, and I saw that it was on Kindle Unlimited, so I was like, okay, what the heck, whatever. I did not know that it was gonna be 6 books. I knew it was unfinished, so like that's my bad for starting another unfinished one, but I'm so glad that I did because I gave this one 5 stars. I thought it was phenomenal. It was very much a book where I had to read 100 pages of it to like actually get going and to understand what was happening. So if you're not the kind of person that has like patience for like when the story is actually gonna start, this is probably not the book for you. But for me, like I said earlier, like I want all the nitty-gritty details, and I think if the world building is done beautifully, then it sets up the rest of the story to where like you don't have to really have any world building. It's just kind of like, well, you've already been given the information, so like let's move on and actually talk about the story. I started the second book a couple days ago, I think like 2 or 3 days ago, and it is like 900 pages. So that one I'm probably not gonna finish. Today is March 30th, so like we have today and tomorrow, and I doubt I'm gonna finish anything. But the characters, the plot twists, the emotions that I felt during this book, I don't think I've ever really had to like force myself to put down a book to like go cry. Even Kingdom of Ash, like I was crying through Kingdom of Ash, but I was still reading because I knew that like I had to get through the part, and yes, it was devastating, but also like this one, I don't know if I guess it just hit too close to home or something, but I legitimately had to put the book down and give myself a minute because I was like, oh, are you kidding me? Like, you're kidding me. Like, I'm scared now for the next books. Like, if you did that in the first book, like, what do you mean? But this was a book that I felt like, it's been a long time since I've actually felt like I wanted to cancel everything that I had planned for the day and just sit and read and binge it, and just like I did not want to leave this world. And it was super refreshing because this story is about Loren, and she is a human in a very complicated magical world, and she all of a sudden is being hunted by a bunch of people, and she's like, okay, why are y'all trying to like kidnap me? This is weird. And so one of the people that was actually hired to off her realizes that, yo, she's just a human. Why are you going after her? I'm gonna protect her until we figure out what's going on behind the scenes, because I want to know what is going on, because something is going on that is bigger than what meets the eye. And basically this is like Crescent City Mafia. That's the best way that I can describe it to you. It is so freaking good. There is a different magic system than in Crescent City, so like don't compare it in that way. And like the story is similar, but I'm not gonna completely say, oh yeah, like this is the same. I think if you like Crescent City, you'll like this as well, but it is like, it's different enough that like it's not a repeat, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It seriously made me want to pick up more urban fantasy, and I cannot wait to read the next book. But here's the thing, it got me to the point where like I want to read the next book so bad, and I'm like, I am reading it, but it's almost like I don't want it to end. Like I'm scared to actually keep reading because I want to savor every single moment that I have with these characters. The found family is, oh my god, I don't think I've felt this amount of like intense found family since like Six of Crows, and that's saying a lot. But that means I get to read City of Souls and Sinners and City of Lies and Legends at the beginning of April, so I'm very, 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 very excited about that one. But April is pretty stacked, and I already posted my April TBR video, so if you want to see what I'm reading next month, go check that out. And I do plan to do a reading vlog for the books that I picked in that video, so I'm very excited. But thank you for watching. I know this was such a chaotic video, and I hope I made at least a little bit of sense and gave you some books to add to your TBR. But if you have made it all the way through, comment the fairy emoji down below. I don't think I've done that one yet. I don't know why I haven't done that one. This is literally a fantasy booktube channel, so who knows? But I will see you next time. Mwah.